Yo, what's going on, guys? Bexio back, and today we have a brand new video on Bitcoin. It broke through all-time highs and then crashed down, and we're gonna see exactly why that happened. There's a couple of reasons why, but first, we did cross over 500 subscribers, so we are halfway to the first goal of 1,000 subs. So if you enjoy this content, want to be part of all of that, smash that subscribe button because we are on the road to 1,000 subscribers. But Bitcoin collapse, people freaking out, all things going on. There's a little bit of things to go more in depth about. For Bitcoin itself, we have this chart still working kind of great. I mean, in this channel still, which is kind of ridiculous that it is actually still managing to stay in here. But you see, we ran up kind of the top, almost broke out, attempted it, and then got rejected kind of at the top here. Came back down, basically bounced off of this bottom level here, 59.6. I mean, it went just under or almost 59K something. It was $60,028, literally almost there. Came bouncing back up, currently at $61,000. So we're seeing this little bounce up, but these two big red candles, people calling for double top. You zoom out and say, you know, it's a double top. All of this stuff, the bears coming out and saying it's all over, but they've been constantly wrong and are always going to be wrong. The history of Bitcoin, the biggest losers have been the bears. They've been constantly wrong time and time again. But what we're seeing is still good moves. I mean, we broke all-time highs, made a new all-time high, and the reason we fell so hard was from leverage. So the leverage is the reason that things got very dumpy. You can see Will Clemente. He's a great on-chain Bitcoin guy, constantly posting all this stuff on Twitter. He marks it out really good in this whole like thing he typed out, saying, you know, following all-time breakout, saw a massive influx of leverage coming to the market, evidenced through the leverage ratio, high open interest, tight liquidation levels, and of course funding rates, and upwards of 150 to 175% APR on some exchanges. So this is just talking about how the leverage rate really caused this price to be just dumped on very hard. And even in the bottom here where it says seeing this dynamic meant the effort perps were excited to push the price up, was being overwhelmed by selling from spot. So there was massive people buying into leverage, these perpetual contracts, which are futures contracts that don't have expiration dates. They keep rolling over, and the price was grinding down. Well, those skyrocketed, and people continue to try and dump money in to make it so that they could hold those contracts and not get liquidated. But a lot of people did get liquidated, pushing the price down even more, and that's why the price got very dumpy because of the high leverage. And people wanted to long near the top of Bitcoin and near this, and saying, you know, it's got to go up and do all this. And when a bunch of people jump in like that, it causes problems like we've seen. And a chart that points this out is this right here, the futures perpetual funding rate, saying, you know, people were and still are longing perps against price grinding down. Price actions attempting to shake out these leverage apes before we can proceed higher, which is what happens a lot in Bitcoin and these futures stuff. You can see the price jumped up. This is new all-time highs. You can see right around there, just skyrockets in the funding rates for perpetual futures. That is a mouthful, but you just these massive funding rates coming in because tons of people are wanting to get out of this. Whales and people who see this, they can easily just go spot dump the price, which will cause these liquidations, pushing price lower, and just making it a bad time all around in Bitcoin. But we see for this, you know, the price dumping and these levels still rising and seeing, you know, maybe a little liquidation stuff, but still kind of trying to fight to stay up here in these futures because people got very greedy. People wanted to make a ton of money. They wanted to ride 67K to 100K on 10x long and just think, you know, they could make a ton of money when you just can't do it. It doesn't make sense. You know, futures and leverage is a very dangerous game. It is much more fun and enjoyable to be in spot and just hold regular Bitcoin. And you can stomach the volatility and enjoy everything. And you don't have any risk of losing your Bitcoin unless you do something dumb. But you don't have any risk of someone saying, well, you made a bet that didn't happen. You know, your collateral is now ours. You get to hold your Bitcoin in cold storage in a regular wallet on the exchange, wherever you want. It can't be just taken away from you because you're in spot. Obviously, a couple of news stories for Bitcoin, why the price rallied up like it did. We had two ETFs start trading, Bitcoin ETFs, in the stock market. And these ETFs are kind of trash. Should you buy them? No. It's really not worth it. I think it's based in futures. It's all leverage stuff. These perpetual funding rates, that could be a reason why we saw them skyrocket so high. There's a ton of demand for Bitcoin and this types of stuff in institutional markets, and this ETF stuff we saw with the first one did almost $1 billion total in trading. The second day it did another $1 billion. I'm not sure what the second ETF did, but I'm sure they're great numbers. There's a ton of pent up demand, but it's a lot easier if you're an individual person to just go buy regular Bitcoin. Go on an exchange, buy Bitcoin, hold on the exchange if you want, put it in your own wallet, cold storage, do whatever you want. But if you have spot Bitcoin, is a lot better than this futures ETF. Basically, the very simple way to decide whether or not you should be involved in these ETFs is, do you know what contango and backwardation is? If not, just stick to regular Bitcoin and spot Bitcoin. And obviously, we had Walmart coming in, 200 Bitcoin ATMs coming into Walmart. This is pretty good sign. They're going to probably run this test thing, see how the Bitcoin ATMs do, if people are interested in buying Bitcoin through Walmart and doing all this stuff. But if Walmart rolls this out everywhere, that's just way more access points for people to buy Bitcoin. And for people who want to, say they can't see Bitcoin, or it's not something, you can't walk into a physical location to deal with Bitcoin. Well, you kind of can just do that now. If you want to walk into physical Walmart and go to the ATM and buy Bitcoin, you can do that now. You don't have to do it on an exchange where people don't understand that it's online and how are these exchanges doing all this stuff. Now they can actually just walk into Walmart. Everyone knows Walmart, and buy Bitcoin. So it puts more legitimacy on Bitcoin for probably the older crowd, just like these ETFs do. Legitimacy, adoption continues to come in for Bitcoin. So these price action in the short term, when everyone freaks out and says, this is crazy, Bitcoin's over, it's all done, I can't believe it, Bitcoin just dropped $6,000 in a day, this is way too much. And those are the same people who said that when it dropped to 29K, 30K, and said, Bitcoin's over, we're done. And if you listen to them, you missed out on doubling your money in Bitcoin. So it's the bulls are definitely more right than the bears over a long period of time. And then the final story to continue Bitcoin adoption, this Houston pension fund. It's the Houston Firefighters Pension Fund. They invested in Bitcoin and Ethereum. So they put $25 million into Bitcoin and Ethereum. I don't know how they split that up, but they are a $4 billion fund that put that in. So they're doing what anyone and any person with a portfolio, be it institutional or individual, should do, and put 1% to 2% into Bitcoin. Just take a flyer on Bitcoin. Even if you don't believe in it, you hate it, you think it's worthless, if you think there's a chance that it goes up in just price, then you can put 1%, 2% in. That's not going to change your life if it goes to zero. But if it takes, it's much more likely that it's probably going to grow to 5%, 10%, and then you're going to see that this Bitcoin thing isn't so crazy after all. Especially, you start to learn much more about things when you put your own money into it instead of, just talking about it. When you have money in, then you tend to try and learn about it, see what's actually going on. With no money, and you see the price going up, you want to hate on it because you missed out. And to end this video off, we're just going to talk about the Bitcoin bears and how they are constantly wrong. This tweet right here sums it up pretty great, talking about now the Bitcoin bears are calling for a double top after their initial targets of 51K, 53K, 57K, 60K were all proven wrong. I love when people act like they know what Bitcoin is going to do after months of being consistently wrong. Bitcoin does not care about your line. Perfectly worded. Anyone who tells you, I guarantee you this is going to happen, they're lying. Especially in financial markets, they're lying to you. Nobody knows. Anyone who says Bitcoin's going to 100K, guaranteed, nobody can tell that. Anyone who says Bitcoin's going to 10K, guaranteed, nobody can know that. That's why it's just more important to do your own research and come up with your own decision. If you think Bitcoin's adoption is going to grow, if you think it's going to become much more prevalent in the world, and if you think the older generation or younger generation is going to adopt this more, they're more interested in crypto, and they're the ones coming up in the world, probably a good bet to bet on Bitcoin and crypto adoption as a whole. Like I said, the only people who have been consistently wrong in Bitcoin are the bears. The bulls have not been wrong because the history of Bitcoin, the price goes up. The bears might be right for sections of time, but if you invest for the long term, the bears have never been right. So this Bitcoin price action ultimately doesn't matter. People are going to freak out every single time Bitcoin has a dip because I get the messages I get talked to all the time saying this is bad. This is a bad look for Bitcoin. When it went from 60K to 30K, people said this is a bad look for Bitcoin. The bear market's in, and I said Bitcoin's fine. Fundamentally, nothing's changed. We're fine. Adoption's still taking place. I look long term. You go up and it goes up to whatever 40K and dips back down. You get the same messages. Comes here, new all-time high, dips back down. Is Bitcoin over? Is this the end? Is it good for Bitcoin? Bad for Bitcoin? People always want someone else to make the decision for them. But the best way to do that is to make your own decision, do your research, come to your own conclusion, and then do whatever you want after that. That's going to do it for this video, guys. And as always, don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers. See you guys in my next video.